What up, guys? Welcome back. Okay, so um, in this part of the video, we're going to be focusing on interceptors. So, if you remember, in the last project, in the last video, we were working on the login page and whatnot, and then when we click sign in, it takes us to the dashboard. Now, at the moment, there's no authorization or any validations working to check and see if the user is logged in, because nobody's supposed to access the dashboard without signing in. So if I sign out, I can what you call it, um, the session gets invalidated, and then you'll see here we clearing it. So the session, we log in, we create a session, and then after we sign out, it basically takes out the we basically clear the session. So no user is actually supposed to access this page without signing. Sorry, let me show you again. So if I go now to the dashboard, I'll be able to access it regardless of whether I'm logged in or not, and that's what we need to change. Alright, so in the last part of the video, remember I had an issue where the flash message, like the one that you just saw now, it wasn't displaying. So my mistake was that I used um, the incorrect uh, object. Let me just quickly go there and show you. Let me close this. Close that as well. Okay, so we were in the sign out post method, right? So when signing out, we are, where am I now? Oh yeah, we're supposed to be here. So in when signing out, we just supposed to display a message that says you have successfully signed out. But then the problem is that in the previous video, or in the previous part of this tutorial, I used the incorrect object. I, instead of using the add flash attribute, all I did was add uh, I used this particular object instead of what you call it, instead of the add flash attribute, like the one here. So if you were following along, just change this, the add attribute part, to add flash attribute, and this is what's gonna allow us to. So for example, I'm gonna sign in again, and when I sign out, this is what's gonna allow us to show this flash message. And then let me just refresh, and then it's gone. So it was my mistake. I thought that there was something wrong, but I actually used the wrong method in order for us to show the flash message at the top. Okay, so like I said, in this part of the video, I just want to focus on adding some authorization so that nobody gets to the app dashboard without signing in. So to do that, we need to use interceptors. So let's come back to the project. I need to stop the server. Let me just close these. Let me close that as well. Let me collapse all these um, packages. Okay, so to add an interceptor, we're gonna come here within our interceptors package. So if you remember, we created this package at the beginning of the tutorial when we were setting up the project. So if you don't have that, just right click, create new package, and then just name it whatever. I'm just gonna name it as an interceptor. So right, I'm gonna click class, and then I'm gonna call this app in spelled it correctly, no? Alright, so first things first, we need to annotate this as a component, and then from there on, here we're gonna extend another what you call it, we're gonna implement a what you call it, a certain interface, which is handle interceptor. Alright, I think that should be correct. And then in here there are three methods that we can work on that we are inheriting from this class. Alright, so the first one will be pre-handle, right? Now these other two we don't necessarily need, but I'm gonna add them as well. And then we also have post handle, then we also have after completion, right? So all these methods here, basically for this one, what's gonna happen is that, let's say we are accessing the sign in route. So when we go to this link, let's say the interceptor is going to work for the sign in link, right? When we go to that link or the app dashboard link, the first method that's gonna run between the two, the first method that's gonna run between these three is the pre-handle one. So this one runs before you hit that URL, and then this one runs afterwards, and then after you're done, this is the third one that runs. So I'll show you now how we're gonna work with this. What I need to do is, so basically I'm not gonna do anything hectic within this. We can add all sorts of checks and validations to run against our application so that we secure it, but I'm just gonna do the basics. So remember, when we log in from the auth controller, we are setting a session. So all I'm gonna do within that interceptor is to see if this object is set. If it's not set, redirect the user to the to the sign in page, and then otherwise we're just gonna let them pass through if they've already signed in. So that's the check that we're gonna do within this one. So I'm gonna remove this. All right, so first let's do this. Right, I'm gonna say in. Okay, I'm gonna copy that. So I want to show you that this is the one that which method runs before which one. Then I'm gonna also do this in. I'm gonna copy this again, and then I'm also gonna paste it in there. So this I'll change in to post. Okay, so now let's do our checks. Alright, so I'm gonna create an if statement here. So what we need to do is we need to check and see which route the user is trying to access. So remember, within the app controller, the route starts with /app, and so that's what we're gonna check for. So in here we're gonna say request dot get request URI, and then we're gonna say dot starts with, and then we're gonna prefix it with what we're looking for. So if you see anyone trying to access a route that starts with this, then this is where we're gonna do the logic and stuff, right? So now what I want to do is so we're gonna say HTTP session, right? This is we're gonna get the session, the current, basically we're getting the current session that's already been set, and then we're gonna get that through this request HTTP servlet request. So what we need to do is request dot get session, all right, and then from there on we're gonna set the user object. Then we're gonna say session dot get attribute, right, and then the attribute is gonna be user. So let me just add this quickly. So what is this now? Oh, I might need to cast this as a user object. Okay, so remember, this session, you see right now we're getting the session get attribute user. So this user object that we're getting here, it's the one that we set here when we were signing in. So basically here we set the session attribute, and then here we are getting that session attribute. So by using the request.get session, it's going to get the current running session, basically the session that we basically set here within the auth controller. And so we're retrieving it here by using the request.get session of the, what you call it, method that we are retrieving from this HTTP servlet request object. So now what we need to do is we need to check. So we're gonna do a basic check. Basically we're gonna say if this user object is equal to null, then we're just gonna redirect the user back to the sign in page. And then to do that, we're gonna say response dot send redirect, and then remember we have the sign in route. So you see this response dot send redirect, it's basically the same thing that we're doing here. The only difference is that the way we are writing it in, we're writing it as a string. Springboot knows this, and so therefore it knows how to handle this. But in the back end, or in the background, or underneath it all, this is basically what's happening. And then for those of you who've worked with servlets, Java server pages and servlets, you've seen this before, right? So but under the hood, this is what's happening when you see this redirect redirect string, or this type of string within Spring Boot. Alright, so we're gonna send the user back to the sign in page, and then again here we need to return false. So another thing, for this pre-handle method to work, or to, if let's say the user wants to access anything after the app, this needs to return true. If it returns false, it's going to send the user back to wherever we are sending them, or it's going to execute whatever logic we add here. So in order for the user to access the app.dashboard page, this needs to be true. So since we're done with doing the checks here, what we need to do now is basically return true. So if all of this checks out, this will if all of this if the user session is already set, okay, obviously this if block is going to skip it, but then otherwise it's going to send the user back to the sign in page. So I just want to add these notes, otherwise okay. Alright, so like I said, we can add all sorts of logic in here to do whatever checks to authorize or to validate the user session, but for now this should be fine for what we need to do. So now, since we've done this, the other thing that we need to do is to go into the the config package, and then go into the application.config file. So in here we need to register that interceptor, otherwise it will not work. Alright, so just bear with me there. So the method that we're going to use comes down here, so we're going to say protected. Just want to make sure that I got the right one. It's this one here, add interceptors. Okay, so Alright, so let's clear that. So to do this, we need to use this registry object here that we are receiving as an input. So we're going to say registry dot add interceptor, and then we're going to say new, and then we're going to call our app interceptor, and then we're going to say dot add path, sorry, it needs to be after that, add path patterns. So basically here with this method over here, what we're doing is we're going to say run this interceptor every time you see someone try to access a particular path. So the one that we're going to do is app, and then everything that comes after app, and then now we just need to add a star there. So everything that comes after app, basically, for example, app dashboard or app anything else, we're gonna run this interceptor to make sure that all the checks that we created or we placed in here, all the logic that we placed in here, gets executed, and then if it passes whatever we're doing here, then it's gonna proceed with the request. Otherwise, it will return. For example, in this instance, it's going to return the user back to the sign-in page. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Let me just double check. So we've got our annotations. Okay, pre-handle. Alright, cool. So let's rerun the app. Okay, so if we come back here, I'm just gonna refresh. Alright, so the first thing I want to do before signing in is to see if our app interceptor is working. So you'll see now when I type app dashboard, the first thing that's gonna run is this interceptor, and then because it's gonna see that the session object is not set, these two are not gonna run. Only this one is supposed to execute. So let's do that quickly. So I'm gonna say app dashboard. Now as you can see, it redirected us back here to the sign in page. So let's come here, and as you can see, in pre-handle interceptor, which is the statement that we're printing out here. So basically the app came in here and checked this user object is not set, so therefore that means it doesn't satisfy the criteria, and so therefore it redirected us back to the sign in page. I'm gonna try it one last time, and as you can see, it's working. So if you come back here into the application, as you can see, it ran twice. So now I'm gonna sign in, and then it should allow us now to go into the dashboard, right? So sign in, and as you can see, we are there. And then if you come back here, as you can see, the pre-handle interceptor ran, then the post-handle one ran, and then the after completion one ran, right? So if I come back here and I say app, you see it's allowing us, and then again you'll see the interceptor ran again. So as you can see, at least now we have some level of authority or some level of authorization going on. So nobody can access anything that comes after the app URL or URI. Anything that comes after the app URL, that interceptor is gonna run, and if the criteria isn't satisfied, we're just gonna be redirected to the sign-in page. So again, just to verify, I'm gonna sign out. As you can see, our flash message is showing there. I'm gonna try again to access the dashboard. Again, it's redirecting us back to the sign-in page, and as you can see, the session has been destroyed. We tried to access the dashboard. Our pre-handle method got executed. Because the criteria wasn't satisfied, it redirected us back. Alright, so there's one last thing I just want to do before we end this part of the video. So when we sign in, as you can see, it's supposed to show the name here basically, and right now we statically added that information. So I'm gonna stop the application for now. Just gonna go into the dashboard page. So we are manually adding this name, and of which is tedious. Obviously, we need to do this dynamically. So if we go to the auth controller, I think it's the dashboard controller. Hold on. Just want to verify. Okay, so here within the dashboard controller, I want to try something. So remember, this user object is in the session. So it, where's my model? So we are setting this user object. Where am I confused? I'm gonna close this app config for now. I'm gonna close the interceptor as well. So remember, we're setting this this user object up here. Basically, we're getting the details using the email, and then we're setting that user object into the session itself, so we can use this to try and access the information of the user that's logged in. So to do that, we come here, we say user dot. Now remember, in the model, the user model, we have first name, right, and then we have last name and then email. So in here, that's what we're going to use to access the user object. We're going to say user dot first name, and then just going to copy this. Right, user dot email. So remember, we're not getting those details using the methods, right? The get methods. We're using the properties to access to get that information. So let's run the server quickly and just see if we are still displaying uh, the first name, last name, and the email. Okay, the server is running. If I refresh, we got back to the sign in page. To the sign in page. I'm gonna sign in, and we still have our. Okay, so something's not right there. Oh, instead of, I didn't change that to last name. So that means that our so we are getting this information from the session itself. So one last time, I just want to quickly run just to be sure that everything is running correctly. Okay. I'm gonna refresh, sign in again. Okay, now it's correct. Alright, so we are now at least what you call it, we are now we now can sign in, and we have access to the dashboard after signing in. In the next part of the video, I want to work on the change password page. So we can also work on the sign up page. On the, no, not the sign up page, the forgot password page. We haven't started with that. But the last two sections of the tutorial should be the change password and what you call it. But I think the forgot password is a little bit more complicated, so I want to start with that because once we get through to that, this one should be fairly simple. So I think in the next part we're gonna work on the forgot password page, the forgot password page. That will be the first part. The second part will be because we still have to create a functionality where the user is going to input the email that's that they've registered with. We have to clear whatever passwords they have, and then set it to a temporary password, then send an email with that temporary password and possibly a code, if I'm not mistaken, and then basically the user will then proceed to change their password and stuff. So I think that's the most that's another part of this tutorial that's complicated. So I want to start with that, and then we will go to the change password part afterwards. All right. So again, like I said in the beginning of the video, in the last part, I couldn't get this to work because I had the wrong method. Just remember to change that within your sign out controller, sign out method, and then yeah, you should be able to see those messages and stuff. All right, guys. So that's it for this video. I'll thanks again for watching, and then I'll see you guys within the next part. Thanks for now, and thanks for the support. Cheers.